Grammy, Stellar, and Dove-nominated gospel artist Todd Dulaney releases his latest project entitled Anthems and Glory, Friday, June 11th. Born in Maywood, Illinois, Dulaney pursued a career in baseball with the New York Nets. He realized there was a calling on his life and left the professional baseball career to share his faith through song. The Chicago Defender had a chance to speak with Todd Dulaney about his new album, his faith, and the greatest lesson he learned in 2020. I did a little research and looked up a couple of other interviews that you did, and you talked in one about having passion for something versus finding your purpose. And I thought that was so interesting.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what the difference between the two is in reference to your career and how you transitioned from baseball into gospel?
Yeah. So a lot of people will mistake passion for purpose. They'll even mistake what you're passionate about for what you're actually here on earth to do. And if you don't find what you're actually here to do, you probably won't live your best life, your happiest life. And so for me, I got a chance to play professional baseball. And so that was what I was extremely passionate about. I was so passionate about it. I loved it. I love to compete. And I love to compete against the best in the world. And so I was passionate about that. But I realized that I had a purpose that was greater than even playing professional baseball. And then the thing is, a lot of people mistake how much money you can make from a thing as your purpose. And that's not a barometer either. You know what I'm saying?
Very true.
And so I realized that my purpose was to share my faith with the world. That was that, and to do it specifically through song. So once I realized that was my purpose, it didn't matter how much money I could make playing professional baseball. The two of them didn't even measure up. That I know that if I find my purpose, then the money will chase me and I'll never have to chase the money. When you're in your purpose, money comes after you because it's why you were created. It's why you were here. So the provision always finds you. Wow.
Wow. One of the things, I've had an opportunity to talk to quite a few artists in different capacities. And we talked a lot about 2020 and what 2020 did to creators, particularly musicians and artists who saw income streams dry up through tours and live performances.
Yeah.
And a lot of them talk about this moment where they're just kind of like, well, what's happening? And can I still be creative? And how do I move in this new space?
Yeah.
Did you have a moment when all of this stuff was kind of hitting us where you were just like, what is going on? And did it affect you creatively for a period?
So to answer the first part of that question, I didn't have that moment. I'm extremely blessed. And what it did for me is it taught me how to use my mind as opposed to my gift. Dude, like I didn't even realize that it was a difference. Like using your mind versus just using your talent that's a big difference. Like, for example, LeBron James is a basketball player. That's his talent and that's his gift. But outside of that, he has a mind, and his mind makes him a lot of money off the court. His mind, the way he thinks, the way he puts things together, outside of the basketball court, he makes money off of that. And a lot of people just get stuck on, I'm just going, I'm good at this, so I'm just going to do this. And then you never use your mind. So while we were in the pandemic, I just used my mind more. And I connected with some of my friends that know how to move things around, know how to make money, know how to, you know what I mean? And I got involved. And so I actually made more money in the pandemic than I've ever made in my life. And so the well did not dry up. And I'm carrying that outside of the pandemic. Now I'm about to use my mind like crazy and my gift. Now that it really actually triggered something for me. And now as far as creativity goes, I can't say it dried up either. Because it forced me to have to be more creative because we were we had to reach the people virtually. That's hard to do concerts in the room by yourself,
Yes,
and so,
yes.
yeah, so I had fun. The pandemic, I don't want it to stick around no more, but I'm gonna tell you something. It brought a warrior out of me, and I feel great about where we're headed now.
Mhm. That was another thing we were discussing. The ones who were able to kind of survive and thrive in the
Yes.
midst of this pandemic were the ones who were able to use their minds and come up
Yes.
with new ways of connecting and new ways of getting their art out there and getting, you know, that visibility, keeping that up, connecting
Yeah.
with fans and such. So I find that extremely, it's been very interesting to talk to people in this business to see
Mhm.
where their mind state was.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just a pandemic, you know what I mean? It was the pandemic of the racial awakening and
Yes.
protest and
At one time.
all, you know, and I always tell people, especially here in the city, in the Chicago area, you're getting hit on all three sides. It's
Yeah.
a pandemic, it's protests, racial awakening, it's a violence in the community. It's just you're getting
Yeah.
hit on all
Yeah.
these sides.
Yeah.
And during this time, so many of us had these moments where we're isolated and you start overthinking and
Yeah.
questioning your faith and questioning, you
Yeah.
know, where is God in the midst of all of this? Did you have moments like that? And if so, how did you
Absolutely.
process it?
Absolutely. I questioned a lot of what was going on with God. Like and I found myself reacting to, like, even the racial tension. I was involved. I was like, man, look, like at this point we got to fight back or something. You know what I mean? Like, you start
Yeah.
feeling that kind of way because as a culture, you've been getting beat on for so long. You've been getting done wrong for so long. I was praying. I said, Father, at what point do we strike back? You know what I'm saying? And so I did have questions, and I'm just glad to kind of be like, to see things kind of look like they're headed to some type of light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know how much that light is, but to see that people have actually been making headway with different movements for our culture, it really feels at least a glimmer of good for me. Because I tell you, like I said, I went dark for a minute. I was like, look, we got to fight back. We got to
Yeah.
fight back.
Yeah. So did I.
Yeah, right.
It just got to, and you know, me covering all of this, like I literally, my prayer life kicked into high gear because
Yes.
when you're out there in the midst of all of this, and it's like that's all you're seeing is the negative,
Yeah.
the negative, the negative.
Yeah.
I was really struggling to find that light
Me
during,
too.
you know, I was getting real, you know.
Right. Right. Like,
I was ready.
yes.
All right, I want to talk to you about the your new album. I want to talk to you about that process, the creative process. What inspired you
Yeah.
to create the music that you did, and what was the intention behind it?
So this project was actually, we were touring so much right before the pandemic hit, and then I told the team, I said, let's record, because we got a little opening, right? Man, I had no idea the pandemic obviously was
Right.
gonna hit, right? So I told the team, I said, let's record, because we got a little window where we're not touring and we need to do it, or else we won't be able to tour in 2020. And
Mm.
so I mean, when I look back at it, I'll say, God, you are something else, because if I had not recorded with the people in 2019, I would not have had this project that is full with like people. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because now I've been listening to people's projects, and worship is something that needs to be done with people, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's better when you have a corporate gathering of people worshiping God together. And I was able to get that in. So the creativity of it was back then, going into one of the hardest seasons that we would ever face. But it feels like coming out of it, this project is right on time. Because it's kind of a more aggressive sound than I've ever had. It's more of a church, like fighting warfare type, in the spirit type music. And it's got some of my favorites on it. Tamala Mann, Smokey Norfolk, Kiara Sheard, Todd Galbraith. It's got a lot of my favorites voices on this record. And I think it'll be right on time.
But we talk a lot about spiritual warfare. We talk a lot, particularly in the Black community. Our faith
Yeah.
is something that runs extremely deep.
Yeah.
Um, and the worship experience is a very emotional person. Even though you're in a gathering of people,
Yeah.
it's still a
Yeah.
very personal
Yeah.
experience. How
Mhm.
do you, as an artist, you want to perform, you want people to feel a certain kind of way, but you still want it to be true to what you
Yeah.
intended it to be, which is a
Yeah.
worship experience. How do you balance that as a performer and an artist and a real Christian, who really believes this?
I think everything in life is about balance. Everything and embracing that there has to be balance. A lot of people just refuse to embrace that. Like,
Mm,
you'll get people that just be like, look, I'm a Christian, I ain't doing that. I'm a Christian, I ain't doing, it's gotta be some balance in order
yeah.
for everything to work properly. And so when I'm on stage and I'm leading worship, there is always a portion of performance because I'm singing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
I'm singing, so I'm using my voice. There is some performance. The band is playing, so there is some sort of performance. But when the Spirit of God enters the room, we realize at that moment performance ceases because now we are performing unto one. And so, it's just balance. I think about it in the same light as when I think about ministry and business. There's balance. There is a such thing as business in ministry, and so a lot of people don't like to think about that money in the church, but in
Yeah.
order for the lights to be paid, in order for you to see all of the things that you see inside of a church, it took money for it to be there. And so there's balance in everything, man. And so balanced life in Christianity makes Christianity a beautiful lifestyle to live. If you think that you just gonna be completely spirit all the time, you got another thing coming. There's gonna be
Mhm.
times where you're gonna be in your flesh. There's gonna be
Yes.
times that you're gonna be in your spirit, man. And so
Right.
I embrace both and understand that it's a place for both of
Mm. One of the things I covered earlier this year was a report on Black people and their faith. And one
them.
of the things that came out of that study was this trend of young people, millennials and
Okay.
younger, kind of
Mm-hmm.
stepping away
Mm-hmm.
from the church, from the things that their grandparents and things like that kind of grew up on. And it's this push at this point to bring young people back to their faith homes. How do you do that when young people feel so disillusioned by things that happen in the church?
I don't know. I don't know if young people are stepping away from the church as much as they are stepping away from religion.
Mm,
And so I'm watching young people embrace a relationship with Christ without the religious structures of the building, the
mhm.
religious structures of telling them how to dress,
Yeah,
because what is modest for you may not be modest for me. What's
right.
modest for us in America may not be modest for them in Africa. And so to answer that question, I just say I think that the young people could be on to something as long as they maintain balance, as long as
Mhm.
they don't go too far to the other side of just being completely carnal, completely
Yeah.
rid of, they may be onto something because some of the traditions and religious structures needed to be torn down. They needed to be
Mhm.
torn down and because we were making it harder to live for Christ than it really, really is, knowing that we all have problems, knowing that we all have issues and we all need the same God. So I believe that the millennials are actually on to something and possibly could lead us in a direction that would draw us to a more less religious and a hidden mask. We don't have to wear
Yeah.
masks. It may lead us to a better place in Christ.
What do you hope audiences feel and or experience with your new album?
I hope that um, it gives them like an encouragement to draw near to God again. Because I know that in the pandemic, a lot of us were challenged and kind of torn away from what we are normally like in Christ. And so this album, with it coming out right on the cusp of us getting ready to go back into normal life, I'm believing that people will kind of feel some normalcy again and be like, hey, this reminds me of being in church. This reminds me of the sound that we used to release. And it'll make you want to go back again and make you want to be with God again. And so I'm thinking and I put some of your good traditional voices on it too, to make you remember Smokey and Tam, and
right.
You know what I'm saying? Kind of draw you back in like, hey, I need to be back in the presence of God.
Right. Now, I got to ask you, you're from the Chicagoland area, born and raised. So I want to talk to you about, how that shapes you or how that influences you as an artist.
I don't know if there's many places in the world that'll mold you like Chicago, like as far as toughness, being relentless, being able to survive environments, and just like, I believe Chicago's got like a realness to it. Like the people are real. Like they don't, we don't grow up trying to play like we like you and we don't like, what I mean? Like that was a code. Like it was like, man, if I don't like you, I don't like you, and so when I would travel around the world, I realized that wasn't common. Some of the stuff, some of the ways that we were in, and so it gave me an edge against, like, not just in doing what I do now in music ministry, but in sports and everything. Like when I played baseball, it was like I had an edge because it was like that Chi-Town grittiness gave you a toughness that, man, I'm not going to give up. You're going to have to beat me. Yeah. I'm not going to quit. And so, so that's what I believe I got most. A lot of people in the news and stuff, you hear a lot about the crime rates and the different shootings, but it's so much more to Chicago than that. I mean, it's so much good, that you may not, most people never even encounter the evil side of it. But of course, the media plays on the evil side more than anything. But man, Chicago is a beautiful city and one of the best cities in the world. Yeah.
2020. Crazy year, full of ups and downs. For you as an artist and a creative, what was the greatest lesson you learned last year?
I'm about to say something. This is going to sound funny, but I learned that my wife's job at home is so much harder than I ever would have known. Like that's what 2020 taught me. I had to be at home so much that I realized, I said, oh my gosh, these kids never stop. They, from the time they wake up until 11 p.m. or whenever they fall asleep, they are on. Yeah, I'm like, shoot, here I am thinking that, oh my God, you can do whatever you want to do. You can move and go as you please. You know what I mean? Like, and, oh my God, I was like, get me back on the road. Get me back on the
road. Are your kids young?
They're 10 and under, so it's 10, 7, 5, and 3.
Oh, okay. See, I have 3 that's 19, 16, and oh goodness, 15, 17, 19. I almost got
that's better, huh?
It's
a little bit better.
It's a different challenge. My mother always told me that having kids, or if you don't know how to pray, having kids will teach you how to pray. And it is having a grown child, a so-called grown child, and 2 kids. It's been very a different set of parenting skills required. So it gets better in some ways, and in other ones, like, oh God, help me, help them. Yeah. But definitely during the pandemic, remote learning and all of that, I hope you show your love and appreciation to your wife.
I know now. Now I know.
Don't take that time on the road for granted, because you at least get a moment of rest.
Yes, I'm out of here. I am out of here.
I loved it. Well, thank you so much. This was so enjoyable.
Thank you. All right. I appreciate you. Thanks, Danielle.
Thank you.